Good morning. Welcome to the collapse experiment. Chickens are fed, rabbits are fed, everybody's fed. So what's going on with me? Oh, just before the election, I hit a wall. Breaking point. Feeling very anxious, stressed out. Too much information, and this feeling things were not going to turn out the way that everyone has been saying they would for the last 6 months. Sound familiar? So I know things that have to change, and as part of this de-stressing, reclaiming my sanity, I deleted some apps. I'm really convinced that Twitter did not help at all. I was on there for like a good 2 weeks. I was eating a lot of my time for people who I don't know, will probably never meet. It's interesting how all of a sudden we put this priority on these people who, quite frankly, give about as many shits as I do about them. You know, it's a platform, a speaking place where people seem to think that their opinion matters, and if you disagree with them, they'll tell you where to go. But at the same time, it doesn't mean anything. It's, there's no repercussions. There's no actual conversation. Nobody is changing anybody else's mind. Nobody is listening. So sometimes you end up with those funny posts where, somebody says something, it goes viral, as if that really means a damn thing. If Stephen King says something funny or insults the right person in the right way, does he get more book sales? Is it going to lean somebody more towards him to say, oh, I should probably read The Stand now? No. So, regardless of how important people think Twitter is, I have a feeling it's just going to end up being a useless platform. So, yes, I still have an account on there. Occasionally, I will think of something and be like, oh, I should just post that. And I think that is the best way to look at something like that, is post things, put it out there, and then don't go back, don't check on it. Just let it do its own thing. If people like it, they like it. If not, oh well. Is it going to change your life? Absolutely not. So, Twitter, deleted that. Had to delete a lot of things from a previous book that is already out, already published. There were some chat forum group things that I was using for collecting information on different topics, and that needed to go. Basically, if there were apps I haven't been using, those went bye-bye. Unfortunately, I'm still getting notifications in my email about like, hey, so-and-so said this. And I'm like, is it bad to say I don't care? Granted, there are people who find these things useful. I'm just not one of them. So yeah, that's been happening. Stopped subscribing to a lot of podcasts, stopped subscribing to a lot of channels on YouTube. I think for my own sake, reclaiming my time and refocusing it on things that directly impact me is my current strategy for dealing with this. And that includes not really keeping up with the news. If I want to know what's going on, yes, I have like my certain websites that I will go to. But yeah, I don't want updates. It's amazing how you can get quickly sucked in from watching one show. And in particular, like let's say you have a show that you like on YouTube. And it's one of those where, of course, they have guests on because you get better ratings if you have different guests and different topics. It's also easier for the people making content because they just rely on the other people to talk, and maybe they'll ask a question or try to argue against what they're saying, because that's hard. But yeah, for some reason they get better ratings with stuff like that. So, having said that, you can start watching one show, and then you see somebody you like on that show, kind of agree with what they're saying, and then you start following that show, and then you come across other people, and it just ends up turning into this chain link effect of all of a sudden you're trying to keep up with or find interesting things to listen to on a half dozen different shows when you just started out with one. And yeah, I went back and just unsubscribed to not just the side shows, but the original one that I was watching to begin with, because I found that devoting 2 hours of my time every day to listening to other people talk about different things that, yes, I may agree with them, but it's like, am I part of a club? Is this benefiting me in any way? Speaking of which, they just had an episode last night with Milo Yiannopoulos, somebody who I'm interested in, somebody who definitely, what the heck, did I lose one of my birds? Oh, it looks like I did. Huh. Anyways, yeah, so somebody like Milo, I'm interested in knowing what they have to say, but at the same time, it's oh yeah, I can't keep track of everyone and everything, and I hate to say it, but these people are not that important. If they want to put a book out there, okay, doesn't mean I'm gonna buy it. And the same could be said for me, I guess. What I'm getting at is the economy seems to be overly diluted with a bunch of stuff that I simply couldn't care about. And when that happens, there's definitely something that needs to change. And I think it's that scatterbrained ADD mentality of trying to keep up with all the important people and what they're saying is what's really driving a wedge between people, between reality, between what is important in someone's life and what isn't. And yeah, I guess currently I am trying to reclaim that because this feeling of being overwhelmed, not doing the things that I know that I should be doing. Um, Trying to figure out what the hell I'm going to do with my own life while concentrating or focusing on other people is frankly quite useless. It's not a winning strategy when it comes to figuring out what it is you should be doing. This thing that I figured out a couple days ago with Amazon is something that I really should have been noticing a couple years ago. Um, these are things that should have been changed a long time ago, and yet they were not, because I was too busy focusing on other people and other things that don't matter, just to be blunt. So yeah, I am currently cleaning house when it comes to this stuff, and I'm debating on a few other changes to make, but for the most part, certain things I'll keep. I seem to notice that when it comes to places or things like Instagram, which I don't like because it's part of Facebook, but at the same time, I post stuff, but I don't really look at other people's stuff. So there is that. There is that disconnect. And when I do seem to scroll through it, it is a lot of ramen noodles, and can you really have too many ramen noodles? No, you cannot. Am I going to continue doing the podcast? Honestly, I don't know. I haven't made a post on that except for some written material that I transferred over to digitally read format, meaning I didn't make the podcast, the computer did. And, I'm not dissatisfied with those. It's just they're so short, I also can't put ads on them. I'm not happy with taking an hour or two of my time per day. Again, getting back to other people's shows. I'm not even happy with taking an hour or two of every day to make my own podcast, because by the time I get done doing that, I don't feel like writing. It's 3,000 to 4,000 words that day that could have been written, and closer to having another book done. But at the same time, I realize I do need to have something to pull people in order to be interested in the books that I'm publishing. So it's a catch-22. Perhaps the answer is not trying to put out an episode every day, maybe every other day, maybe not an hour. Could possibly try doing some short snippets of different things instead. At least when it comes to podcasting, there is a lot of leeway. But at the same time, I have to think to myself, what am I contributing, and is it benefiting anybody else to listen to my ramblings and other weird shit? Does anybody get anything out of it other than I feel better about myself when I'm done? And who knows, maybe I should just treat it like Instagram, where I just say whatever it is or post whatever it is that I want to post, put it out there, leave it, and let it do its own thing. So it's just weird that anytime I get really close to actually being paid for doing something like a podcast, that's usually around the time that I end up being disenfranchised, no longer desiring to do it. And at the moment, the only thing I'm looking at being paid is $10.50 from Anchor for having their ad on the podcast. And again, it's another diluted market. So I don't know. But I guess the big announcement for this video is that if you are wondering whatever happened to the wandering post-apocalyptic swordsman Phil, because book 2, Samurai, ended with "to be continued." And this was let's see here, this was 2016. We're now in 2022. Yeah, so we're looking at what, six years ago. I said "to be continued." He did pop up in book 3 of the After the Day series, the Future Collapse series books. He is in book 3 of that, and he does find the man that he's looking for. Unfortunately, when I did that crossover in my head, it kind of ended the series, but no. There is going to be more Phil, more of the wandering swordsman, more of this crazy guy going around with a katana in post-nuclear detonation United States, causing trouble and havoc. And that's currently what I'm working on now. I do have another book that is outlined. It's more than halfway done, but it's a more lengthy project, and I have been working on it, but at this point I kind of need a bit of a break, so I'm doing this action adventure book, bringing back this character, and I have a feeling that this is going to be a reoccurring, long-running story. If you are interested in book series like The Survivalist, or what is it, Deathlands? I hope it's better than stuff like that, but you have to admit, those things can be entertaining if you're in the mood. If you just want a cheap thrill, something that isn't going to take a couple weeks to read because it's long. Yeah, those books have their place. So, anyways, that's it for me. If you're not seeing me on social media, it's for good reason. And why is it every time I have one of these moments, I end up back on YouTube? Perhaps that should tell me something. Anyways, remember, you are the carbon that they want to reduce. Most people suck, and keep on typing.